Hello and welcome to this episode of Shatterdice Reviews, and today's board game review is
Fortune and Glory. Fortune and Glory is a game for 1 to 8 players by Flying Frog Productions, in which players take on the role of daring adventurers in a 1930s pulp serial adventure world. Their globe-trotting adventure will take them across the length and breadth of the earth, from the deepest jungles of Africa to the mountain peaks of Mongolia, searching ancient temples and enduring deadly dangers as they try to recover lost artifacts from antiquity, and along the way, finding their fortune and glory. If I had to sum up this game in one phrase, it would be LEGO Adventurers, the board game. You thought I was going to say Indiana Jones, the board game, didn't you? Well, it has that Indiana Jones feel too, but with the large ensemble cast of adventurers and the huge variety of artifacts that appear during a playthrough of Fortune and Glory, this game actually gave me a massive wave of nostalgia for these old LEGO sets I had as a kid. Really, this whole game is just a love letter to the old adventure serials, just like Indiana Jones was and just like LEGO Adventurers was. Enough of the nostalgia though, let's get on to the game. Fortune and Glory is a Flying Frog Productions game, and as such, just like all their other games, it uses a roll-to-move system. Roll-to-move may have a lot of people groaning at it as an antiquated mechanic, but in Fortune and Glory it actually works quite well. You see, a move roll of a 6 in this game can pretty much get you to the other side of the world, and a 1 won't get you very far at all. But the game will compensate you by allowing you to draw one of these event cards, which 9 times out of 10 are extremely useful. But we are getting way ahead of ourselves. First, let's take a look at how the game works. So to play Fortune and Glory, each player will pick a character at random from this stack of character boards. Each character starts in a specific city on the board. So collect your character miniature and place them in the matching city. Now it's time to pick, or randomly determine, which evil organisation you will be facing off against. In the core game, it will be the mob or the Nazis. Yes, this game does contain Nazis, and if that bothers you, I wouldn't bother with this game at all. The evil organisation will be running around the board, just like you, trying to snag as many artifacts as possible. Essentially, it's a race between you and them to gain enough points to win the game. The evil organisation is run by an AI system, which means you don't need anyone to play them, and can play this game with both a cooperative or competitive rule set. I'd say the game works better when played as a co-op, but that's just my preference, so this review is going to assess the game from a perspective of cooperative play. So, you have your adventurer, you have your evil organisation. Now to find out what treasures you are all hunting. To determine this, draw 4 cards from the adventure deck, then 4 from the artifact deck. Pair each artifact with an adventure, and you will have something that looks like this. These are your 4 artifacts, and now to find out where in the world they are, draw a location card for each one. Place one of these coloured skull markers at the board location and its matching skull on an artifact. Repeat this process for all of the artifacts. Now, with your cards all set up, you are ready to begin playing. The first step is the initiative phase, where all players roll a 6-sided die. The player with the highest roll gets to go first, while any player who rolls a 1 on this test gets to draw an event card. The first player then rolls a d6 again for their movement, and may move across the world map equal to their die result. Each of these black borders cost a single movement point to cross, but the sea, however, is a bit different. When travelling by sea, you have to spend movement points equal to this number here, listed beside the water icon. This means crossing the oceans can slow you down. There are also multiple cities dotted around the map, and if you want to enter a city, it costs you 1 point of movement to go from the location you are in to the city within it. So for example, if you're in Japan, you have to spend 1 movement point to enter Tokyo City. Note, however, that many cities have this little anchor icon next to them, denoting them as a port city. These cities can be entered and exited directly from a sea space. So, if you wanted to leave Tokyo and move into the Pacific Ocean, you do not need to move into Japan first. You can just go straight into the ocean. As you can see from the layout of the board, a hero can travel around the world pretty quickly. And even if you get a bad roll, that is not enough to reach a location with an artifact. You will hopefully be able to reach a city space, as this will prevent you from having a short and uneventful turn. This brings us to the adventure phase. After all characters have moved, it's time to press on to the adventure. These are quite simple. If a character is in a location with an artifact, they can attempt to collect it. If they are in a city space, they draw a city card and can spend any glory tokens they have to buy gear and allies. Let's take a look at retrieving artifacts, as this is your main objective in the game. Each artifact has a fortune value, depicted here by this gold coin icon. Fortune is essentially victory points, and when the players have enough, they win. The more heroes there are, the more fortune is required to win though, so take that into account when deciding how many heroes you want to use. This other number in the red danger icon represents how many dangers a hero must overcome to obtain the artifact. This way of constructing the adventure makes for some really cool combinations, where each game will have different artifacts. For example, in one game, this artifact could be the Shield of Loki, but in another game, it might turn up as the Shield of the Crimson Hand. And while it is worth the same fortune, it may require you to face more or less dangers to obtain. So these dangers, how do they work? It's quite simple really. The player who is on the adventure shuffles this danger deck and draws a card from the bottom. The card face will have a little bit of artwork and some narrative text to let you know what danger you are about to face, such as an alpine trail or underwater diving, or even some poisoned food. Then, the card will give you an attribute test to overcome the danger. There are 4 attributes: combat, agility, cunning, and lore. The card will list the attributes, or sometimes attributes, you need to test, along with a target number, such as 4+, and then a number of these success icons beside it. This represents how many successes you need to overcome the danger. However, you do not need to get them all in a single roll. To take the test, roll a number of dice equal to your hero's value for the listed attribute. So for example, this character is taking an agility test and their agility value is 3. They roll the dice, and so long as at least one die meets the target roll, they claim a success token and can roll again to continue the test. If you are lucky and roll multiple successes in one roll, take that many success tokens. Once you have collected a number of successes equal to that on the card, you overcome the danger and are one step closer to obtaining that artifact. Now though, you have a choice. Do you press on to the next adventure, hoping to get another step toward that treasure, or do you camp down? If you do the latter, you gain glory, which can be used in cities to buy gear and allies. Each danger card has this glory value listed on it, and when you camp down, you gain the amount of glory listed on each danger card you have overcome this turn. You also gain this glory when you obtain the artifact. But the risk here is if you fail to overcome a danger, you do not gain any glory, and worse still, your turn ends on a cliffhanger. Cliffhangers are what really bring out that adventure serial theme of this game. Dr. Zukov had a horrible mishap climbing an alpine trail. How will he overcome this one? Find out next time on Fortune and Glory. It's very much got the feeling of that kind of thing. They are fun and very simple. When you fail a danger test, your turn ends, and when the game comes back around to your turn, you must complete your cliffhanger. Flip the danger card to its cliffhanger side. You will get some more narrative text, setting the scene, and another test to take. If you fail the test this time, your hero is knocked out and returned to their starting city, losing any progress they have made. However, cliffhangers represent dire circumstances, and so a hero may choose to exert during a cliffhanger test. Exerting means they take 1 point of damage, but in exchange can roll an extra die for the test, and a hero can do this multiple times, even taking multiple wounds at the same time to roll multiple extra dice. So that's a cliffhanger, and you will be facing a fair few of these, I have no doubt. Once all these dangers are dealt with and you grab the treasure, you will need to make your way to a city where you can sell it and gain fortune tokens. The artifact itself doesn't count towards your victory, so be sure to sell your artifact as soon as you can. Otherwise, you might find the evil organisation winning the game before you can. And this brings us to the baddies of the game, either the mob or the Nazis. Both work slightly differently and have different special abilities that make the heroes' lives harder. The mob makes gear and allies more expensive, while the Nazis have this Zeppelin that goes around the board dumping soldiers into random locations, which you will have to fight if you enter that location. The main thing both of these do, however, is try to snap up the artifacts before you can. Each organisation has its own villains, such as Icebox Eddie for the mob, or Herr Stahl for the Nazis. These villains get deployed to the map in the same location as artifacts, and instead of dealing with danger cards, they simply roll a number of dice equal to their search value, and gain a success token on a 4+. If they have success tokens equal to the danger value of the artifact, they collect that artifact and are removed from the board. Then you advance this marker 2 spaces on the villain track. If the marker reaches one of these red spaces, which one is dependent on the number of heroes, then they win the game. Well, that's about it for the gameplay. Now let's take a look at the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good. As is usually the case with Flying Frog Productions, the theme is the game's main draw. It really shines through here, and feels just as pulpy, cheesy, and outlandish as you can imagine. It's great fun to be delving deep into the Amazon jungles, only to come across some Nazi soldiers escorting gold, defeating the guards, and then stealing their gold to add to your own fortune. The mechanics, though simple, are effective and make the game easy to teach and play, giving you a gaming experience that is more about the laughs and fun of its silliness than getting bogged down in tactical minutiae. The bad. The experience can quickly turn sour if you get off to a bad start. Heroes do not start with any glory, and so you can't buy any gear until later in the game, which means the game starts out very challenging, as you will struggle to overcome dangers and gain that glory you sorely need. The evil organisations are also very powerful, as they are able to deploy right on top of artifacts, and only needing to roll 4+ to get those success tokens means you will have only 2 or maybe 3 turns before they snap up the artifact. If you are unlucky, they may even manage to grab one on the first turn. There is also the roll to move issue. While it works pretty well in this game, getting the dreaded roll of a 2 is very disheartening. A 2 means you do not get to draw an event card, and probably is not enough to reach any location you want to get to. I have found it is only on a result of 2 for movement I felt like my turn has been wasted. The ugly. Well, I'm going to have to say the artwork for this game is probably one of its most divisive aspects. The cosplay photograph style is not going to be everyone's cup of tea. I don't mind it, as I think it adds to the B-movie aesthetic, but it's definitely something to be aware of. It is also, like most Flying Frog Production games, a big box of random. It's a dice chucker through and through, and while there is some strategic play in this game, all those strategies are completely dependent on the outcome of your dice rolls. The core game also feels a bit lacking in danger cards. It has many duplicate dangers, and so you find yourself coming up against the same dangers on almost every adventure. It's not really bad, but it is repetitive. So, what do I make of this game? Well, with the right gaming group and the right attitude, I'd say this game is not very boring. It brings in plenty of laughs and silly nonsense that makes for a fun and fairly fast experience, provided you don't have 8 players. As long as you aren't wanting some deep and rich rule set full of complex mechanics and the adventure theme appeals to you, you will probably like this one. Well, I'm bored of reviewing this game now. Bye.
Well, I'm bored of reviewing this game now. If you like these reviews, feel free to like and share and subscribe to the channel. Bye.